This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Wednesday, February 25, 2026. It is Samsung Galaxy Unpacked Day, and I've got the awesome Nirav Gondia here with me. Hi, Nirav. How are you?
Hello, darling. This is, our default for anything Samsung related now, isn't it?
Yes, it is Samsung Day. So what do it's funny because you actually are in San Francisco. I am in San Francisco. And it just worked out that we had to do this remotely anyway, right?
Yeah, I think it was a better
Logistics.
choice. Logistics make it easy. Although, to be fair, we could have then just recorded it like 2 hours ago. But it was easier to just do this now.
I think, in a way it's good because you probably have already played with your phone. And I want to give my Patreons a surprise by unboxing this Galaxy S26 Ultra on video. For those of you listening on audio right now, there is a video version of this podcast. You get it a day in advance every week for $5 a month on my Patreon. Patreon.com.
You should definitely go subscribe.
/TNKGRL. Yes. And so we will do that at some point. I believe you have another S26 of some kind to unbox potentially on video.
I have the regular one.
Nice.
And
you've already set up your Ultra?
It's in the process of still installing everything.
And you use the nice magnetic case that they provided us. We got cases and we got pucks for charging. Like, they went all out this year.
They gave us everything we need to actually cover this the right way.
Which I think is pretty awesome. So where are you standing with this whole thing? Like, I mean, obviously, I came into this, like, of course, ignoring the leaks and rumors, because I didn't obviously ignore the leaks and rumors. I mean, I covered that on the podcast. But if you were like not aware of what was going on, I think the gut feeling we all had was this is going to be very iterative, like they've always done very iterative lately. But they kind of surprised us in one important way, that privacy display.
So I'm going to go... All right, I'm going to put it out there, and it's the opening line to my hands-on video that already went live. I think they nailed it.
You do? I have some reservations.
I actually think...
You're talking about the whole launch, or you're talking about specifically the Ultra?
I think the S26 Ultra, they nailed.
Okay. I thought you might be just talking about the privacy display. I don't think they nailed it because it's Ultra. Not an Ultra phone.
So it depends on how you're approaching it. I get it. I completely get it. And we've all got all the other Ultras that are amazing out of China. We've been in the roundtables where we're asking those questions, all of that. Yeah. Yet, the way I put it in the video, and I've been on Twitter responding to someone who accused me of being paid.
Twittering.
You guys, I love being accused of being paid, you dumbasses.
Twittering.
The reality is, we asked them to make a bunch of changes.
And they did.
Aside from adding a whole bunch of new cameras and tweaking the cameras, they made a lot of changes.
No. You're missing a very important thing.
They made a whole bunch.
No silicon carbon. They still have to do that. That's probably the first thing they need to do.
So it depends on which angle you take on it. Yes. Look, I'm in the middle of, shameless plug, I'm in the middle of setting up a whole new benchmarking app that I've been vibe coding over the last few weeks. Yeah.
Awesome.
For battery testing, and it's got 9 different battery tests. So I'm not going to comment on what it is. But the whole premise of that is, what's the longevity? What is, we know that if you want the 4-day battery life, then yeah, you're going to go buy one of the Chinese phones, without a doubt. And a 2-day battery life, you're going to go buy one of the others, the ones with silicon carbon. I get it. That said, let's look at this objectively. They shaved 0.6 millimeters off this phone without doing silicon carbon.
Yes.
That's an achievement.
And they also gave us 60-watt wire charging, which is finally in the realm of acceptable to me.
Yeah, it puts it on par, just shy of what Motorola does with like the Signature, which I think is 66 watt. Not quite as good as your OnePlus is.
It catches up to OnePlus from 7 years ago.
True. But also, it's, I'm the one who coined milliamp hours a minute as a metric for testing, for standardizing charging tests.
It's a valid metric.
this actually, I think if I calculate, if it is hitting the 50-minute mark, is going to put it at 100 milliamp hours a minute. The S25 Ultra on a full charge, 60, 58 on my last test.
Yeah.
So that's a major change. That's a major improvement, even if it isn't quite the 140 or so that you'll find from Oppo and its sisters.
Yeah. I just feel that there's some headroom there that they could gain by making the phone even thinner or giving it, I'm not even saying 7,500. I don't even need that much. Like just 6,000, 6,200, and then make it even thinner. Then it would really be impressive. But look, you're right. This is future Samsung.
There's a couple
crossed.
of caveats to this. Yeah, this is definitely future. And we were in that. You and I were both in there when you talked about silicon carbon in that roundtable, and they were like, "We're evaluating it." Is the polite way of putting it? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of caveats. Yeah. Last month I went and talked to the guys at Realme about the P4 Power with its 10,000 milliamp hour battery.
I have one. Yep.
Yep. And I was like, just wondering why it's not coming to Europe and places like, let's be honest, that are big Samsung drivers. Samsung's key markets are the US and Europe rather than Asia.
Right.
They're massive in those places. Europe has rules around the overall battery capacity, and then
same
a lot
with the
of
US. Yeah,
and same with the US.
5160 milliamp hour per cell.
Yeah, but once they hit a certain size, whether they're doing split or not, I don't know if they're doing split. I don't think they are on an S26.
No, they're not.
Ultra.
No, Samsung is not. Realme is for sure.
Exactly. But if they're going to start doing split batteries, there's a lot of risk for a company that has to be risk averse when it comes to battery. And we don't need to go into why, but it's obvious. Yeah.
PTSD is why.
Yeah, PTSD. But I can understand from the perspective of they would have to set up all new fulfillments and stuff like that. It's Samsung, they can do it. But even someone like Amazon, when you get to a certain size battery, they won't deal with fulfillment. They won't stock it. So that's a strong caveat. The other thing I was saying is, look, I'm not here to defend this, but I will say I don't want to judge it until we see this. It could be that they really need to increase the size, and that's a future thing. Or it could be that they've achieved slightly better and it's just good enough for a day and a half. It depends on 8 Elite Gen 5 and what the efficiency ends up being like inside this.
Yeah.
I go back to it. I really like the fact that they made a host of changes, and it doesn't feel as iterative as previous years.
That's kind of why I was going with this. I was like, I went into it, even if you don't pay attention to the rumors and leaks, like we knew the privacy display was coming. So that kind of, in a way, that would have been a great surprise if they had managed to keep that a secret. But without that leak and without some of the rumors around some of the camera and AI improvements, I think I went into it going like, this is going to be a snooze fest. This is going to be another, like last year. Remember how much of a snooze fest last year was?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So I went into it like that. And then, I came out like, okay, so here are the things, the positives. And I think the Ultra is the winner, obviously. But the positives are the Ultra is not more expensive. And I think a lot of people out there are going to hear me say that and go like, so yeah, what? They wasn't more expensive the year before or whatever. They've kept the same price for a while. I'm like, because it's a very different climate we're in right now economically, with tariffs, with, just general, like the world is on fire. We all know this. And generally speaking, geopolitics are playing a major role. RAM's really expensive right now. And, as much as big companies have supplies arranged in advance, they prepay, especially Apple, and it doesn't affect them immediately. Like, this is pretty amazing that even if they hadn't put any of the other things we're going to talk about into that phone, forget the 60-watt charging for a second that we already talked about. But if they only put the privacy display in there, they kept the same price, is a miracle, okay?
Yeah, because it's not cheap to do this.
No, considering the S26 Plus is a very much a big disappointment because it has no improvements whatsoever except for cosmetics and slightly faster wireless charging, like 20 instead of 15. Other than that, it costs $100 more. And then we'll talk about the S26 because there is some good things about the S26. But my point I'm making to wrap up my thoughts here is that I feel like just with a privacy display, keeping it at the same price, that was a wow moment for me. But then on top of that, we got 60-watt wire charging, 25-watt wireless, unfortunately without magnets. But then again, as you said, 7.9 millimeters. I would like to remind everyone out there who's listening, especially you iPhone users, your Pro Maxes are 8.9 millimeters, exactly 1 millimeter thicker. That is much thicker.
Let me just throw something in there.
Thicker.
For those Pro Max users, 8.9 millimeters is also the thickness of the Galaxy Z Fold 7 when folded.
Yep. So my point is that in addition to this privacy display and keeping the price, 60-watt charging, 25-watt wireless, unfortunately without magnets, but hopefully they've heard the message, because we're getting our review units with magnet cases and magnet pucks to charge. They never did that before. And then here's the thing that really, really impressed me, because I'm a kind of a camera geek. Like, they didn't change the actual sensors. There's still like a 200 megapixel main, 50 megapixel ultra wide, 50 megapixel 5x telephoto, and that crappy little 3x 10 megapixel telephoto. But on the main sensor, which is the one that matters the most, and the 5x telephoto, which is the second most important sensor, they give us much faster f-stops. Like a massive, like 1.4 on the main, on a 200 megapixel sensor. That takes some serious optic development without thickening the phone in any way. So like that means low light on this thing. Plus, you add the new AI algorithms, you add the better ISP from the 8, Elite Gen 5 and all that. I mean, I think that thing's going to be killer in low light. That's what I'm expecting.
So did you do the nightography demo?
I did not. I did not have time.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I did this. It is in my big video that's going out on my socials later today or maybe tomorrow morning. This is where it gets interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm filming. So the demo was simply showing off a cityscape, it was a staged San Francisco skyline.
Yeah.
In a virtually pitch black 10. The quality of what that looks like, that 1.4 versus the 1.7 makes a massive difference.
Oh, it's a huge difference. And then FO 2.9 on the telephoto?
It went from 3.4 to 2.9.
I know,
it makes
it
super usable now. Also, one interesting thing about the 10 megapixel, I asked them why. Whether this is on the record, off the record, the reality is they said the 10 megapixel 3X exists for one reason and one reason only, portraits. Nobody ever uses it for the otherwise. It's solely there for portraits. And when you think about it from that perspective, it kind of makes sense. Yes, we all want it to go to a 50 meg or something like that. But I can see why they're like, they may not need to upgrade that if it's solely
portraits
used
matter.
for portraits.
I think this is where, my take earlier of this is not an ultra phone, right? Like, I feel that they need to ultra harder if they're going to call this ultra. If this phone was called Pro or Pro Max or Pro Plus, I'd be like, yeah, I'm on board. Remember the old Note Pros and Pro Pluses, and like that makes sense. But to me, when you start saying ultra, you're in a whole different price bracket, a whole different realm. And also you're in unobtainium. You're in phones that are not mass market phones. And that's why I have a problem with what Samsung's doing. Because here's the thing, right? You've seen the chops. Look at the Z Fold 7. They know what they can do when they apply themselves. Yet they're not really applying themselves if they're not competing with the Chinese. Like, I told this guy who came to me, this was the most exciting thing that happened to me the entire week. I was done my content capture, and this Korean man, I assume he's Korean, came to me because I think he worked with Samsung. And he said, what didn't you like? What can we do better? What were the misses? And I was like, whoa, wow, you really want to know, because I have a list here. And, I talk about silicon carbon, but I said, you're not ultraing hard enough. This is not an ultra phone. And he was kind of like, And I was like, look, but here's the takeaway. This is the thing that I said, I think that's the most important. Stop aiming and following and going for Apple. Start aiming and following and go for the Chinese.
All right,
that way you will beat Apple. If you start trying to go for the Chinese, you'll beat Apple.
No, so here's the caveat. I agree on one. You and I have got all of these Ultra phones down the pat. Yeah,
Because you're like just as
they're
an
all
aside,
fantastic.
hold yourself for 1 second. Find X9 Pro is not an Ultra phone, but it's more Ultra than the Galaxy S26 Ultra.
Where is my X9 Pro? Oh, it's on charge over there.
Do you know what I'm saying? Don't you think that's true? And that's a mainstream phone for Apple. That is not their Ultra phone. That's my point.
I agree. I agree. The caveat is, there's two caveats here. Because on the one hand, it's absolutely right. But look, if we're going to be logical about this,
Yeah.
there's two trains of thought. We all want them to go hard. We all want them to bump the fourth camera up and to give us like, I think we all want them to throw a 200 megapixel telephoto in there because because they provide the hardware to everyone else that does the 5x telephoto.
It's a requirement at this point.
We want that. And yes, that's true. But then I've got to look at it from the other perspective. Where are they trying to sell these things? And then secondly, they spend a buttload on marketing, an absolute bucket load on marketing, which the Chinese companies do not.
Well, they do in China, but they don't do here.
But the amortization of that spend in global markets like the US, like Europe, where it is many magnitudes more expensive than China, has to come from somewhere.
No, you make a very valid point.
At some point, we've got to go, right, is a Samsung Ultra gonna be a Chinese Ultra? But that means if they're going to keep their marketing up, which they will always do because that's what brought them success, we're going to start to see it go to $1,500, $1,700 to achieve that. Because if they throw everything
I'm in. I want this phone to be $1,499. Here's the thing you don't understand is you're forgetting one thing. I never said there wasn't room for a Pro. The Ultra that exists today would remain as the main seller as the Pro model. Then it's like, look, Audi makes the R8. You're an Audi guy. The R8 is a Lamborghini with an Audi badge on it because Audi and Lamborghini are under Volkswagen Group now, right? And so when they acquired Lamborghini and they started, designing the future Lamborghinis, they're like, well, why don't we just take that same platform and make a crazy Audi? Very few people have an R8 or drove an R8. It's a rare car.
I've driven it. It is gorgeous.
It is a halo car. Samsung needs, in the same way as the Z Fold 7 in a way is a halo, the Trifold is a halo, they need a bar phone that's a halo. They need a real Ultra phone. This is all I'm saying. It can be a low volume product. All halo things are low volume. And it's important if you want to be the best. And here's the thing, and this is why it bothers me, is the Chinese have that playbook. In fact, Samsung has that playbook in China. You know those crazy gold fully phones? The Z Fold 7 on steroids that they sell out there, like the W phone or whatever it's called? Why don't they have that and then bring it to the West?
So, okay,
1,500, 1,600, I don't care. Here's the other thing. They now have a higher ceiling with the Z Fold 7 being $1,999, with the Trifold being whatever,
$2,900.
Right? So you could totally find a small subset of people who don't want a folding phone, but want a Halo proper Ultra phone that costs $1,599 in North America, in Europe. Very few people compared to the mainstream Pro that you'd still be selling. I'm not saying this is Halo. This is not a mass market product. This could have a silicon carbon battery. This could have 200 megapixel sensors. It could have an ultra wide, a main, and a 5X or 3X or whatever, like Oppo. This is, the rumors on the Oppo, the Find X9 Ultra, is that it has 200 megapixels. Like, this is where China is clearly going. So stop messing around, Samsung.
No, I agree. Okay, I agree. So then let's go down this path quickly because it's a fascinating idea, and I think you and I both want it, both see it, both also have differing opinions on it to an extent.
I mean, everything you've said is totally valid about the marketing, about Apple would never do an Ultra because they're all about profit per device. They're all about optimizing their supply chain. Anything that's niche for them is not a seller, right?
This is Samsung, though. Samsung plays the exact same playbook.
But
there's two points I want to make. No, there's 2 points I want to make. Yeah, there's 2 points I want to make. We all look at 3 points, in fact, because I think this is the thing. I'm gonna first start with, let's first think about this. Samsung has been playing the Apple supply chain playbook for as long as, if not longer than Tim Cook has.
100%. But yet, they are copying Apple at every step. They're still not ahead of Apple in the mind share of people, especially in Europe and North America. And that's because they always behave like they want to be Apple. That's what I was telling this guy. It's not just go after the Chinese because it'll change your mindset. It doesn't mean you can't do your economies of scale. It doesn't mean you can't have your supply chain super optimized like Apple, but start switching your mindset around that you are the leader. You're not following the leader.
Okay, valid point. So let's look at, you said niche. Here's the kicker. I don't think Samsung is going to make niche products.
China, Z Fold 7 is pretty niche.
No,
Trifold is pretty niche.
Trifold is niche, but it's all of the original Fold was a niche product to launch a category. The Trifold is not a one and done niche product. The Trifold, I'm willing to bet, will exist because I have it on good authority that they were shocked at just how popular it has been. So it will be a category for them. Okay. Yeah, and they wanted to give them that growth point, a more expensive foldable that opens a category to doing a Fold Ultra, all of this other stuff that they can run with when Apple does their folding phone later this year.
100%.
Fine.
Yep.
So the caveat, though, the Chinese OEMs do an Ultra, and it is a niche product. It's not designed for mass market. The only exception now will probably be Xiaomi looking at bringing that to more markets. But we're in how many Xiaomi Ultras have been made? And then they're finally starting to take this to global markets. The Oppos, the Vivos, these are niche China-specific market phones because China is their core focus for that, absolutely. And they need something to compete with. Samsung isn't about to. I'll give you a random tangent story for a second because I love a good tangent.
Oh, tangents are allowed and encouraged.
I was walking around Shenzhen once, and I was in Huaqiangbei. You know, the big market for people who don't know.
I do.
Counting how many different Chinese OEM stores were. We're talking 10 stores with an Honor sign, maybe 6 or 7 Honor stores, whole bunch of Xiaomi, the Vivo, all official stores, 1 or 2 Samsung stores in that entire range. Shows you that the China market isn't their core focus, probably because they can't compete with them and their market share in China is low, and they've got to compete with the Huawei's of the world, etc. So I get it. But as we saw with Edge, Samsung isn't going to launch an Ultra as a niche product and then keep making them unless it sells. If Trifold had not sold, it would probably not being made another one.
Yeah. But we don't know that yet. I mean, do you think they sold more Trifolds than Edges? I don't know. I think they sold more Edges.
I absolutely think they did.
Really?
And I absolutely think that I have very good authority that the Trifold sales shocked them on how popular it actually was.
Interesting.
Don't quote me on it, off the record, all of this stuff, yeah? But it's stuff that you hear, obviously. Now, going back to this, my caveat point, you launch an Ultra at $1,599. Let's go with $1,500, $1,499.
Yeah, $1,499 is a sweet spot.
You put a terabyte of storage in there. Current Ultra becomes a Pro. What are they pricing that at? $12.99? $11.99? Are they bringing it down to $10.99 with the pluses? And let me just explain where my thought process here is, yeah? Because if you use the word Pro, you're now suddenly up against your $1,000 phones, which suddenly a Pro, given how much they spend on marketing, can't be the current Ultra, because the current Ultra is, I would wager that their BOM cost on this is just too high for them to make that a Pro at $1,000. And so they're in this weird bit where their early decision to go with 3 versus 4, their early decision to position the Ultra at $1,300 and to push off as a regular and a plus does give them room to do Pro stuff if they want to, but they can't, because if they do, there's a direct comparison against everything else, and all of a sudden they're playing a game that they don't want to play. And
so I actually have a solution to this.
let me just quickly finish. From a geek perspective, we want them to be the innovator. We have zooms and stuff like this on cameras because of two companies. Huawei first, Samsung hot on its heels years ago.
100%.
This is Samsung of old. Yeah?
Yeah.
Huawei still does some crazy stuff to an extent. Samsung kind of, when we lost Huawei as its chief competitor, didn't really need to do it because as long as they're better than Apple. But from a business perspective, but from a business perspective, I get it. I hate that. I wish that they would do a $1,500 Ultra, but I'd be shocked if they did a $1,500 Ultra unless they then decide to get rid of the Plus. Maybe that's the solution. Maybe this is it. Maybe we're looking at a $1,200 Pro or an $1,100 Pro instead of next year's Plus. Okay. And we've got the three barriers. Who knows?
Hear me out. S27, basically an evolution of S26. S26 Plus goes away. S27 Pro comes in two versions, a small and a big, like a Pro and a Pro Max. You want to target Apple. In this market, it would matter. But here's what you do. You remove that 10 megapixel 3X. It's useless. You save money there. You remove the stylus. You make it basically $100 cheaper for the large one and $100 cheaper than that for the smaller one. And then you have a Pro and a Pro Max or a Pro and a Pro Plus. And they're still they're really good phones. Like, they're going to be great phones because what's in them already is really great. And maybe you improve the battery tech so that you can now get 6,000 milliamp hour out of that, whether it's silicon carbon or not, I don't know. But the point on the big one, and the point is, you now have a Pro that's a little more affordable. You get rid of the Plus. If people want a bigger phone, they can get the Pro. Because look, Apple doesn't have a large 17 anymore. They have a 17 Pro and Pro Max. And if you want a big one, you go for Pro Max. And I think that's the most logical thing that Apple's ever done. When Apple did the Plus or whatever, that bigger 17, 16, 15, whatever they did, I was like, you're nuts. This is not right. Anyway.
What iPhone are we on? Are we 17. On the 17 or the 16?
You're on 17. But my point is, hear me out. Now you have room for an Ultra. And that Ultra, I know they don't do niche, but maybe they should do niche. And here's the thing. Like, clearly it looks like they're not going to do an Edge again, at least for now. And I think that's a mistake. Because here's the thing. We're going to get an Air 2. It's going to be much improved. And Samsung was already ahead of Apple in many ways with the S25 Edge. All they needed, let's talk about that in a second. All they needed was a silicon carbon battery and a better telephoto. And that's it. And what you have to show there, that's a China market phone.
But this is the Honor Magic 8 Pro Air. 6.1 millimeters. 3 cameras. Look, telephoto goes all the way up to 100x. There's some artifacting, there's AI, yes, AI, all of the stuff.
Zoom, but it's like...
But guess what? It works. It works up to 10x. You're getting good, 20x. You're getting good photos.
Yeah, it's competitive with the other Chinese battery. Phones. Yeah, exactly.
80-watt charging. 5.5 hours screen on time on a phone that's 6.1 millimeters thin. This thing is spectacular. This is what the Edge and the Air should be. And Honor needs to bring that to global markets because actually 100%. This is the best thin phone pretty much ever made. I have the Huawei. I have all of these. Yeah. Nothing comes close to what Honor's been able to achieve. So when you mention the Edge, that's like the ultimate caveat. So the playbook exists. The playbook exists for a Samsung Ultra, except I would love to see it. I wouldn't want to see it. I'm going to throw a caveat in here. I'd only want to see it if they continue to also try and do innovations like privacy display. And stuff
absolutely.
Like that.
No.
I don't want to just see just a focus on camera because actually,
absolutely.
And you said, I look at people like my brother-in-law and stuff who swear by the Ultra. They swear by it not because it's not just for the cameras, not even for the camera at all. He loves it for the S Pen, the big screen. There's a load of reasons that I think people buy Ultras that Samsung knows about, and the one that I think we can say with safety is, and this is worth remembering, and I come at this from the perspective of my old days in retail, yeah?
Yeah.
No matter what we think, it can be damn well sure that Samsung has the receipts from all of its users and potential users with God knows how many tens of millions spent on focus groups and feedback. And why do you think they, so for example, I'll give you an example, Fold 7, they got rid of the S Pen. Why? The numbers I heard, 1 to 2% of users of Fold actually use the S Pen, even if they bought it.
Yeah,
with the case.
I believe it.
So they know what people are doing with their phones and what their users want and what potential users they're going after want. So whilst we want them to do the Ultra, what do we hear? We heard 56% of respondents cared about privacy. I'm not surprised that they didn't focus on camera and they suddenly went after privacy, because it might end up meaning that they can sell an extra 5, 10, 15% throughput. Obviously, we're in the 1%, less than 1% in the weeds talking nerds, yeah?
Yeah, no.
Like, let's be real. But I don't know. We love the Ultras, but I don't think, if I think back to all my retail days, I'm not sure whether average Joe cares enough about the long zoom, especially when I look at people like my sister, who, do you know what? Used to say she uses her zoom all the time, all of this, yeah? Switched to a Razor, has not complained to me once about that. She's happy at 2x. Most people are 2, 3, 5. They're done. They don't care about the...
No, I get that. But I'm just saying, the Halo, do not underestimate the Halo effect.
I agree that the Halo effect, this is how Samsung was popular in the first place.
And
so you're absolutely
to your point
right
about the privacy display. This is the first time, in my opinion, that Samsung has innovated in years. Because look, we could argue the Z Fold 7 is very sexy and very amazing, but it's playing catch up on what everybody else has been doing, you know, Honor and Oppo. Okay, let's be real here, right? Because ultimately, my Find N5, which is now being replaced by an upcoming Find N6, is still a better phone than Z Fold 7 in terms of battery life, in terms of telephoto camera, in terms of stylus input. It's just as thin. Like, software is awesome. So, I mean, I would prefer, honestly, I'd rather use ColorOS than One UI. I know you're probably not feeling that way, but my point is, that's preference.
I'm now 50-50. I love One UI, but I love ColorOS.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel that you nailed it when you say the privacy thing. This is really big. And, you know, going back to like the other little improvements, they're welcome. Like, and that's what I mean. They did all this stuff, 60 watt, the faster lenses, no more titanium, which is, you know, they again, it was a me too because Apple did it and Apple got rid of it. And I'm not saying Samsung got rid of it, went back to aluminum because Apple did, but I think it makes sense because we've all learned that titanium is actually not that great. So, you know,
it's not necessary.
Exactly. It's not necessary. And look, it's lighter, it's thinner, all these things for the same price. So I think they nailed it in that sense. I just have issues with, I know they can do better. I know they can innovate even more. They could, look, they brought the privacy display. For all we know, they could bring a camera tech that, you know, like we don't know about. Like, you know, like when Oppo created the periscope lens, when, you know, there's so many examples, variable aperture that was first done on Huawei, like things like that, right? And in fact, Samsung tried that for a while. Like, I just feel like, you know, this is giving me hope. But at the same time, you know, we should unbox my phone because, you know,
before we do that, you said something just now, which I think is killer. The best way to summarize the S26 Ultra. I started my video with, they nailed it. And I think now I'm 13 and a half minutes later of that video, and I don't think I said exactly why they nailed it. But you've just nailed it with that. We have hope. They didn't, Samsung before this year would have given us a slightly better aperture, or, you know, slightly faster aperture on both those two lenses. The Snapdragon 8 Elite,
faster
and called
charging
it a day.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have even done the charging.
Okay.
They would have done that and called it a day.
Yeah.
And they would have got reamed for it, but it would have been fine. Maybe it'd be 0.1 millimeters thinner. This year, and for anyone who calls this iterative, I will punch them in the face. Because I don't think you can claim, I'm going to list off all the things that I think are upgrades, yeah?
Yeah.
0.6 millimeters thinner. That's no easy feat.
And lighter, 4 grams.
4 grams, but still fine. 4 grams lighter. Faster charging. Double the cameras, 2 cameras with much improved f-stops.
Yeah.
Privacy display. That's 6 sizable major upgrades that are not software
wireless
related.
charging.
Faster wireless charging, fine, but okay, yeah, fine. I'll give it 6. I'll give it 7. Let's call it 6 to be, because we had the cameras as 2. Like we'll just call it 6 major changes overall. Yeah.
Yeah.
6 major changes is not an iterative upgrade. 6 major changes is a big upgrade.
There's another major change you didn't talk about. The non-change of price.
Oh, non-change of price, especially in the world we live in now. Especially
that is spectacular to me.
It's, to me, this is I don't want to call it revolutionary because it's not quite revolutionary, but it's not iterative. This is a sizable evolutionary change.
Yeah.
It's not your iterative change. This is sizable. This is big. And to most, and I wanted to put this out there because everyone I've already seen is slamming them going, oh, it's not this, it's not that. Those people are fundamentally wrong. Someone was like, oh, what difference does 0.6 millimeters make? I'll tell you now, a massive difference to actual usability.
Oh, yeah. You feel it right away. You
feel this? And I was like, whoa. And for the last point I'll make, before we unbox yours, during that briefing, they got to privacy display at 35 minutes.
Yeah.
About 35 minutes in. I had forgotten that it was coming. And I was already like, okay, this is a pretty big upgrade. Then they did privacy display. That is telling for the sole purpose that there was enough to go, whoa, that's an upgrade. That's a change. That's a change. That's a change. It's very unlike Samsung as we know. And it gives us hope that we're back to the times where we're not going to deal with 1-2 changes and trying to put out a 10-minute video on 2 changes which you could cover in a 90-second short. But you're in the point where there is enough to say and it is enough to get excited about. And remember, they're not targeting the S25 Ultra here or the 24. They're targeting people on 22 and 23 Ultra. For those people, this is a massive change.
Oh, yeah. It's the same with the iPhones, right? Okay, here it is. And so it's very easy. This box is actually not sealed because the stickers that seal it are actually in the box. You'll see in a second. And here's the phone. I got the purple one. Woohoo!
Were your stickers in the box? Because mine were.
Yeah, I'll show you.
I think they unsealed it because it's got
no. You have to remove
SIM in it.
You have to remove this part from the lid. So the lid has this compartment in it, right? And in my compartment, there's a SIM because they put an AT&T SIM in the phone. But there's also, check out the stickers, like under this thing.
Mine didn't have that under there.
Interesting, mine does. And then we have this divider, and this divider has predictably in it a little drawer here. You pull it out, and it has the SIM removal tool right here, and the cable and the documentation. We've got a USB-C to C cable, and then we've got manual, and of course the SIM removal tool. So the phone itself now, let's get to that real quick. It has a nice little cover on it. This is what it looks like. Check it out. Woo! Very pretty. Okay, here we go. Ready? This might make a sound. See, I'll put it near the mic. Are you ready? Yeah, I didn't make much of a sound.
Oh, just heard that.
You heard that? It was good? Okay.
Just heard that.
Let's fire it up. Turn it on real quick. See if it is a boot sequence of some kind. Yep. Samsung. Galaxy.
Honestly, whilst you do that, I'm in the middle of setting up mine, finishing the setup. So.
Yeah, so as you can see, the layout's the same as always. You've got the volume rocker and power lock key, volume power. On the bottom here, you've got USB-C. You can see how much thinner it is now. The SIM tray, yay! We've got one of the speakers. We've got the S Pen here, which is your standard, as always, S Pen. There you go. Look at the very little bezels, S Pen. And then on top, you've got the other speaker and a couple of mics. And on the other side here, there's nothing. Interestingly, you notice something? Though you can't see a millimeter wave antenna window, just like on the Z Fold 7. And it does have millimeter wave. This, I believe, it's a US unit we have.
Yeah,
So,
and it does have millimeter wave. You're
and
right.
that 12 megapixel camera on paper looks the same 12 f over 2.2, but it's actually an 85-degree wider field of view. So it's a 24 millimeter instead of 26 millimeter equivalent for a 35 millimeter camera. So that's actually good stuff. Yeah. And notice the corners here are the same exact radius now on all three phones, which gives them a very consistent family look. And you notice also the camera pod here. This camera pod is cool because it's a copy of the camera pod that was on the S25 Edge. And so now they have kind of a unified design language with this camera pod. There we go.
And it looks really nice.
It looks very nice. And it also let them make the phone slightly thinner by having this pill thing protruding and then the lenses protruding from the pill. So there you go, quick unboxing for the Patreons. Let's switch gears and talk about the S26, and you can unbox it. Go ahead, unbox your S26 if you have it there.
I do. First, whilst you have the violet there, let me quickly for your Patreons show off the blue, which you can just about see is justice. I was so happy when I looked in the box. It is a stunning. However,
a lot of people got the black, which is like
something to note. All the S Pens are color matched, aside from the blue one, which has a white S Pen.
White, nice.
Could do better. It's the only weird point. Right. So let's talk S26, because I could not tell you off the top of my head what the differences are.
Well, actually, I have a lot to say about the S26 because the S26 is my second darling of the collection. So you unbox it and I'll tell you why.
You go for it whilst I show off the unboxing.
By the way, I think my purple is also black. See? So I think the black and the purple share the S Pen other than the tip.
No, I thought the purple was...
No, it's not. It's gray. Look.
Oh, wow.
Look at the difference in color. You see it here.
Talking of black, I have a black S26 here.
All right. Ooh, fancy pants.
And it's really nice. It's 163 grams. That's basically the weight of the Edge. Or very
so is the same packaging inside? Is there like a divider stuck to the lid that you can pull out that has the
same
cable?
Exact packaging.
Right, same packaging.
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
Not going to do it, but same old. We have Verizon SIMs in here, which is nice. Are you
going to do the peelage? Here we go. Peelage time, folks. Oh, yours made a better noise. Nice.
And let's get the setup going.
There you go. I like it.
It's even the regular is actually gorgeous in the hand.
No, it is.
And the one
and look, show the camera pod
grams is amazing.
Yeah, and the camera pod is also the same design as the S25 Edge. It's got that pill shape and then the lenses sticking out of the pill shape. Very cool.
You can see literally that it looks very similar.
Yeah, you have the extra two lenses there. But okay, so here's why I think the S26 is amazing. And beyond the weight, it is $100 more. So this is the disappointing part is that, and this is where you can see the economy at play. And, is that the two cheaper phones, the S26 and S26 Plus, are $100 more each. But the S26, you get something for those $100. You get twice the base storage for those $100. No more of that BS 128 gigabyte. Now you get 256 gigabyte. You also get a slightly bigger screen of 6.3 and 6.2. So that's an improvement. You get a 4,300 milliamp hour battery versus 4,000, another improvement. Now, the cameras are the same. The display is 1080p. Resolution is the same. It's the same quality panel. It's just slightly bigger. And so, of course, Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 in North America, at least. I think in some other markets, it's the Exynos 2600.
Are they still doing the Exynos?
Yeah, but here's the good news. The good news is that they are, delivering some improvements for those $100. Like double the storage is a big deal. And having a bigger battery and a slightly bigger screen is a pretty big deal to me. I think these are like three worthy upgrades. Now, the cameras are identical now for the third or almost fourth year in a row on both of those phones. The standard 12 megapixel ultra wide, 50 megapixel main, and that tiny little 10 megapixel 3x telephoto. And then we have the same front-facing camera, that 85-degree improved wider field of view that we have on the Ultra as well on the two S26 and S26 Plus. So honestly, you're getting a pretty decent setup, I think. The one that I think is probably the one I would avoid because you might as well spend $200 more, especially, with all the BOGOs and trade-in deals and all the stuff that's going on out there. If you want a slightly bigger display, the 6.7-inch display on the S26 Plus is the same display as before, same size. For the $100, you're not getting anything better. You're getting one thing better. Slightly faster wireless charging speed, 20 watt. Also, slightly faster wireless charging speed on the S26, 15 watt. And faster wired charging also, I believe, on the base model. So, improvements. But the S26 Plus... yeah, it's the problem middle child, I think, right now. And, it's a good argument towards my Pro discussion earlier,
Yeah, I completely agree. There is definitely something to be said about that, which I don't disagree with in the slightest. The interesting thing, I think, is... Holy, whoa. Okay, there's two things I want to flag straight away, yeah?
What did you find?
There's two things I want to flag straight away. So first, did you notice that...
What?
Oh, okay. It is still there. Weird. All right. No, never mind. I thought SwiftKey was preloaded, but no, that's because I did the transfer and it automatically enabled it as well.
Oh, yeah.
One big interesting change, at least on the Ultra, the fingerprint sensors, the new one, and it's much better.
Oh, it's Gen 2 or 3 ultrasonic?
Yeah, it's not the respective garbage that everything up until this point has been. This now has the bigger fingerprint sensor and it's way better.
Nice.
I'm sitting here and I know how bad this fingerprint sensor was before, yeah?
Yeah.
This is a weird change that I wish they'd have done, but to me, that makes for change number 7. That actually makes it worthwhile.
It's interesting though, but because, during the hands-on, we can never test these things.
Yeah. But
right?
I would have expected them to mention that. And in previous years, that would have been a big upgrade reason. But actually, to me, it's like, yeah, that's a good upgrade reason. A good additional feature because we know just how much better this 3D Max 2 sensor is, versus the previous gen.
Absolutely. No, I think this is good news. I mean, honestly, I do feel like if you're going to buy one of these phones, it's like the iPhone, The 17 is an incredible iPhone. It's a massive improvement over previous base, not base because they have the E as well, but what I consider the mainline iPhone, right? Because the only thing you're really missing is a telephoto. Everything else, now you have 120 hertz display on the 17. You have a 50 megapixel ultra wide on the 17. You're basically getting the whole enchilada, except for a telephoto. And in a small form factor phone that really is fast and has good battery life and is well made. I feel like the S26 is exactly that phone too. The S26 Plus, meh. Then go Pro or go home if you want a bigger phone. I think a lot of people love the iPhone 17 Pro because they want all the Pro, but they want a smaller all the Pro. And that's why I think there's an argument to be made for Samsung to make a Pro phone with 2 sizes. And then, again, maybe make an Ultra that's even more expensive. So, I think that if you're going to buy the S26 or buy the S26 Ultra and call it a day. And again, with all the deals that you're going to be able to get in the next few weeks, might be pretty easy, honestly.
I don't disagree. I think it's solid. And I can see, what's interesting? I will say I do see reasons for people to buy the Plus because it is lighter. It is thinner. There are people like my mum who do not want an Ultra, at least until this year, because it's too heavy. It's too big.
I get that. That's
it's
true.
All of those things. So the Plus, because of these changes to the Ultra with your 60 watt and all of that, because of these changes to the Ultra with the 60 watt and everything like that, I think it actually gives the Plus room to breathe.
But it should not have been $100 more. Or they should have done something else to it.
Well, also the flip of the $100, which I don't think you mentioned, is they're going up against Apple, who didn't raise the price.
Yeah.
So now the base 17 is $100 less than the base S26, but the base S26 does have 3 cameras, not 2. Whatever we think about them.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point.
There's almost that separation and delineation where is the S26 base S26 really competing with the S20 with the 17, or is it actually now aiming to compete with maybe the 17 Pro at a lower rate and this and that? And like, there's almost a spot where however they want to market and tweak this and position this, they kind of can, even though the phone does probably need some changes and upgrades on the camera side. That said, I spent very little time with it during the hands-on. I spent so much all the time with the Ultra, and I'm actually very excited to see, okay, how is this? Because it might just be a killer small phone.
I think it's going to be great. I mean, small phones that are flagships are always freaking great.
I agree.
They're not for me, but like every time I use one, I'm like, yeah, I get this. I totally get this. To the point where when I was not getting review units from Apple, now that I do, but I wasn't at the time, I bought a 16 Pro, not a 16 Pro Max iPhone.
I will tell you, I use a Pro.
I wanted to try. I was like, how is life with a small flagship? Because, my main flagship is always going to be a big pixel. So, I might as well try something else from my iPhone. But now, of course, when I got review units from Apple for the 17 Pro, I didn't have a choice. They just sent me a 17 Pro Max with 2 terabytes of storage in orange. It was insane. Anyway, let's quickly talk about the Buds and then wrap up. The Buds, I'm excited about the Buds because here's the thing. Samsung kind of flies under the radar on the Buds, kind of like OnePlus, kind of like in a bit nothing as well. Although you can't compare these because nothing is much smaller. But you could compare Oppo, OnePlus, Realme with Samsung in terms of earbuds. They fly under the radar because people always think, they think AirPods, right? They think, and granted, rightfully so, they're great. But I always find the Samsung Buds to be better than the Apple ones. And I find the OnePlus Buds to be better than the Apple ones. And of course, there's the ecosystem tie-in. And if you want to be able to switch devices, it's certainly easier if you're all Apple to have AirPods. I get that. But aside from that, if you look purely at things like battery life, comfort, sound quality, and ANC performance, to me, Samsung has always been at the top of their game. Where OnePlus, Oppo, Realme beat them is in price. But performance-wise, Samsung, you pay a little more, you pay Apple prices kind of, but you get, I think, even a better thing than the AirPods Pro. And this was with the Buds4 Pro last year. So I can only imagine how much better the Buds4 Pro are going to be this year. And I'm really excited to try them out.
They're an understated audio champion, and a lot of it comes down to when they bought Harman all those years
100%. Yeah. It's kind of amazing.
It's one of those
honestly.
few times where you're like, oh, wow. Because they spent a little while. It must have been like S4 range where they were like, and we have audio speakers now tuned by Harman in our phones, etc. And then they stopped because obviously after a while. But actually, you now start to see them really excel in audio.
I mean, honestly,
and I freaking love them.
For me, the big issue in the old days of the Buds from Samsung was I like stems. And they didn't do stems in the same way as Google doesn't do stems. But Google doesn't have a leg to stand on when it comes to Buds because they don't sound good. Their MC isn't that good. The battery life isn't that good. And on top of that, I find them extremely uncomfortable. So fail. Mm-hmm. But I like the stems, and Apple nailed the invention of the stems and refined the invention of the stems, and OnePlus and nothing went straight with it. But it took Samsung a bit. Last year's Buds 3, Fan Edition, and 3 Pro are all exemplary in their own categories. And it's nice that there is 3 big players right now making the ones without silicone tips, if that's what you prefer. Apple, of course, has always done that. With ANC too, all 3 of them. Huawei has always done some, and they're still continuing. And now Samsung with the base Buds 4. So you have choices. You can get the Pros that have the silicone tips and even better ANC, better sound and all that. Or you can spend a little less and get something that might be more comfortable to you because you don't like something stuck deep in your ear. And you can't get that from OnePlus. They don't do that anymore. They used to. But like Huawei still does, Apple still does, and Samsung still does. So kudos to them. I'm really looking forward to the Buds because, I think they're one of the best. They're one of the best. It's basically it.
I agree.
Nirav, darling, would you like to tell folks where they can find you on the internet? Where do you write? Where do you social media and all those good things?
I decided to be a little more simpler, so it's not going to be simple at all. All right, you can find me at hot.tech on the web, which is HOT, Hotel Oscar Tango .tech. And there you'll find a feed. That's my new CMS that I built. That has both my feed of content from everywhere else. It's a place I post newsletters. It's a place I post my own content, etc. So all of that's there on the homepage. You can also find me at hot.tech, which is HOT.DOTTECH, across all social media apart from Twitter, where I'm at Nirav, at NIRAVE.
There you go, folks. And absolutely follow Nirav everywhere he is. Good stuff there. And you know where to find me on the internet. I'm at Tank Girl, TNKGRL, like the comic book character Tank Girl. Just drop all the vowels and you get my handle pretty much almost everywhere. TikTok, I added my year of birth, so it's TNKGRL69, but everywhere else, it's TNKGRL. Where am I the most active? Probably Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky. I'm everywhere. So even Mastodon. So, feel free to follow us. Talk with me and Nirav about this podcast and your thoughts on it. I'd love to hear them. The podcast itself lives at mobiletechpodcast.com. That's the URL. That's where you'll find links to all the different platforms. I'm on all of them. But if you want a central way to subscribe, that's the way to do it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If it's your first time here because Nirav is here, please do. I would appreciate it. And then, of course, his YouTube channel, youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. You'll find my hands-on video with the entire S26 series. I just published it this morning, so check it out. And then you know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, all that good stuff. Comment, of course. So yeah, find me on YouTube. And then finally, if you want to support me, there's Patreon. Patreon.com/TNKGRL. As I mentioned earlier, it's the same as my social media handle, Tank Girl without the vowels. That's where you can find my Patreon. You get a video version every week, a day in advance for $5 a month. And that's the deal. And consider supporting me there. I also want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. You know I review a lot of phones, so I'm constantly juggling multiple devices. While that's fun, it also means I'm spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. Thankfully, there's Mint Mobile, and that's who I'm teaming up with for today's podcast. If you want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. You've probably seen the Mint Mobile ads featuring Ryan Reynolds, but let me quickly tell you how fantastic their service is, especially for tech-savvy early adopters like us. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current devices and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process only takes 15 minutes, and if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to get you through it. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link, mintmobile.com/mobiletech, to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And Nirav, darling, thanks so much for being on the show yet again.
Thank you. We're keeping up our tradition as we are.
100%, yes. And folks, I'll have another podcast next week from Barcelona at MWC. So stay tuned. Until then, cheers, everybody.
Cheers, darlings.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.